I'm Jessica Ann Bogart for Audio Story Time. Today's story is an odd mix of fan fiction and faux fiction, which is the opposite of fan fiction. The subject of this tug-of-war is Star Wars.
Welcome to
Audio
Story.
May the Force be clobbered!
Hello, I'm Rabadash, one of the narrators. Others will be joining me throughout to help narrate and to make comments and explanations.
I'm Pippi Longstocking. 12-year-old Felicity is a newcomer, having been rescued from a stranding in a desert the night Palpatine supposedly got destroyed, and Anakin Vader healed himself. She was just tossed into the story without warning, as a very manipulative plot device. Just another means the Star Wars fangirl tried using to pressure Ocean into conforming to all the Anakin coddling everyone except Leia was doing. The fangirl also stubbornly insisted on Felicity being blind, and she had her obsessing about disabilities. Opposition to that is written by Ocean. Yoda and Ben are about equally shared, but Ocean's Ben and Yoda's are more interested in keeping fights from breaking out, not pandering to Vader love or the online blind community subculture. Most anything odious Anakin Vader does is written by Ocean, except for the judgment, a repulsive idea the Anakin fangirl came up with. While Felicity may have been in awe, in a mix of admiring and being intimidated by Anakin Vader, Ocean added in how terrified that little girl really was at being visually dissected by Anakin, who she mistakenly believed had been the one to rescue her. Eventually, it was revealed to her that her rescuer was Ben. Even that was a cringy scene that was basically a ripoff of another scene from the Narnia series. That had been one of the Star Wars fangirl's favorite scenes, but Ocean was not happy with it, because Ben was sounding too much like Aslan when explaining he had been her rescuer. But that bit of the story had continued past Anakin's exit and into the fangirl's crazy uncle story, which is not being included here. The little girl gets a much different wrap-up to her plot. For now, we meet her for the first time. Where else? The training area, of course. Over to you, Rabadash.
Part 8, Preparing for Judgment. The next morning, Elf got up and went to the restaurant Leia had taken her out to, and she had her breakfast there. Then she returned to the compound, looking for the little girl. Ben told her to just go to the training area, where he was about to bring the girl. Elf was not keen on this for two reasons. First, the idea of exposing a child to lightsaber training was reckless at best, and certainly dangerous, possibly promoting violence and ideologies Elf did not agree with. The other reason was Elf did not want to go back to the training area anyway. She would have much rather sit and chat with the girl in the visiting area. Nevertheless, she took Ben's advice and headed to the training area, where she picked up a lightsaber just to kill time by practicing what moves she had learned until the little girl arrived. Soon, the door opened, and Ben came in with the newcomer. "Master Yoda," he said, "I would like you to meet our guest. Her name is Felicity."
Yoda put his lightsaber down and approached the girl. Yoda I am, and here to assist you any way you require. I'm only 12. I have no idea how I got here and what happened. Someone must have brought me here. I'm terrified. You need not fear us, Yoda said, putting a reassuring hand on Felicity's shoulder. Elf put her lightsaber down next and also approached. Hi, Felicity, she said, reaching out to lightly touch the young girl's hand with hers, indicating she wanted to shake her hand. I'm Elf. It's frightening being in a strange place, she said gently. And I second what Yoda just said. I don't know what happened to my cane. I do not like rigid canes at all. My cane folds. If I had it with me, I would show you. It is nice to meet you, the girl said. The fact she couldn't make eye contact meant she was blind and talking about a white cane. Pleased to meet you, I am, and Yoda is my name. I am seeking counsel from the one who wears a respirator, the young girl said, her heart racing wildly. I'm not sure how in the world I can find him without the use of my cane. I am absolutely terrified. Where is he?
Sorry to interrupt, but I noticed that Ben didn't even have the decency to explain right away to the girl that he was the one who found her unconscious and abandoned in the desert, and he was the one to bring her to the compound.
I noticed that too, Jessica Marley-Smith.
Always running interference for Anakin, then holding his tongue when he should have explained to a lost and frightened child what her circumstances were and why, only to tell her later just so he can get a bit of self-glorification. That is not the Ben Kenobi I remember from the original movie.
Lisa, I think you hit that one right on the head.
I remember liking some of the characters, but they all make me cringe now. In both this nutty fan fiction and the whole series.
You're not alone, Mika. Apart from giving this drivel the mangling it deserves and ripping anything Star Wars a new one, I want nothing else to do with it. Rabadash?
Where was I? Oh, yes.
The elf suddenly withdrew, bristling. Her tone became less welcoming, even a little annoyed. I don't know what in the world you want with that man, but he doesn't need a respirator anymore.
Where can I find him? The girl repeated. The elf heaved an exasperated sigh. If that's all you're interested in, I can't help you, she said tersely. Elf? Yoda objected, trying to keep her from becoming too angry. Turning to Felicity, he continued. Anakin Skywalker, that would be. Newly healed, he is, said Yoda.
Can you bring me to meet the Skywalker clan? Felicity asked.
Gag me with a spoon.
The elf mumbled miserably.
Yes, Obi-Wan said. Where do they dwell? The girl asked. I've heard tell that they live on a retired star cruiser.
There is no Skywalker clan, the elf said, barely able to keep her annoyance under wraps. Luke Skywalker has a sister Leia, and she has an adoptive father, but she and Luke are twins.
Ben continued, speaking to Yoda and Elf. First, as Anakin desires, you must bring the child to stand in judgment before the Emperor.
The elf's mouth fell open for a moment, then her shock turned to annoyance. Here we go again, as Anakin desires, she said mockingly. Judgments, whatever next. Ben's eyebrows raised, but he continued. Unlike his predecessor, but his piercing blue eyes can see one's nature. Wait! First, didn't Luke already say this bit about seeing one's nature before? Oh, yes, he did. Back in Section 4, blowing it, when he was trying to flatter Ocean Elf, he didn't say anything about her eyes, but he said this, quote, After all, you are an elf, and you can see straight to one's nature, end quote. Ben continues on the subject of Sheev. He shall know if it is kind and pure. By this he shall tell if this child is worthy to meet Skywalker. Hang on, I thought it was Anakin with the amazing blue eyes. Now it's the new Emperor as well. The same Emperor who was so bedazzled by Anakin's blue-eyed stare in the last pile of Star Wars codswallop we mowed through. So that must mean this Emperor could be in danger of dazzling himself as well every time he looks in a mirror. Good gollywog, as Hugh McTaggart says, this is laughable.
The elf scowled in disgust. Well, la-dee-da! He wouldn't know kind and pure if it hit him on the head.
Ocean, please, said Ben. I thought you said you'd keep him away from me, Elf said accusingly to Ben. Elf, Ben started to say, but he didn't know what to tell her. He seemed unsure, as if two sides of the Force were waging battle beneath his skin.
And they were. Star Wars Nut was writing Ben in support and complete compliance to Anakin Vader. Ocean was writing Ben in very much doubt of what Anakin wanted him to do. Back to the story, such as it is.
The little girl continued. Which one of the Jedi Masters will bring me to the Emperor? We will, Yoda replied. Ben, the Ocean Elf, and I. I'm not a Jedi at all, let alone a Master, said the elf. No one seemed to take notice of her comment. The little girl started asking questions again. Is he in a wheelchair like his predecessor?
Who cares? Elf muttered irritably.
He uses a walking stick, my child. I will take you to him, Obi-Wan said. First, we must try to conjure your folding cane. With this, Obi-Wan fell silent.
Why does he use a walking stick? Felicity asked.
Why does that matter so much? The elf snapped. Elf, I will not have you talking to her like that, Ben said. But you're cool with something a lot worse. A judgment on her by the new Emperor and that freaking... Ocean Elf! Ben cut her off sternly.
Ocean Elf shot an angry glance back.
Calm down, you both must, Yoda interjected. Then he answered Felicity. Using a walking stick the Emperor is, because he is frail and cannot walk well, Yoda explained.
But why ask about this at all, the elf said. Why else would anybody use a walking stick?
I don't know, I was just curious, said Felicity. That has nothing to do with what makes anyone a good or bad Emperor, said the elf, her voice becoming a little gentler. Not trying to be hard on you, Felicity. It's just that disability doesn't define the person.
Both Yoda and Ben smiled at this. Felicity looked confused. Maybe Ben or Yoda can explain that to you better than I can, said the elf.
The impassioned argument inserts our Oceans.
Just wait until the girl is taken to meet the Emperor. That's when Ocean manages to start exposing Anakin Vader for the slimy bully he is. It might have started out being some kind of genius heartthrob epic Anakin thing to the Star Wars fangirl, but ended up her least favorite part of their collaboration. She was sorry she ever came up with the judgment plot after Ocean punched craters in Vader's supposed awesomeness.
This should be good. I'm anxious for things to start moving along. Okay, here we go. I am prepared to meet the Emperor, Felicity said. What will he see? She asked. Tell you I cannot, Yoda said sadly. Learn that on your own you must. The Emperor will see you now. By now, Ben had conjured up a new cane and handed it to Felicity. Follow me, he said, leading her up along a spiral staircase.
Handing her a cane, and then expecting her to just follow him up a spiral staircase? Isn't there a handrail he could rest her hand on, and at least let her know what kind of staircase it is?
Oh, but that wouldn't be any fun, Beth. This is Anakin Vader's idea after all.
Next came Yoda, followed by Elf, who for some reason had decided not to just run out on everyone. As the trio led Felicity up the stairs, she began to ponder what would come. At the top was a door that led into a massive Imperial space.
There you will find the Emperor. Listen carefully as he will call you to approach,
said Ben. Reaching the top of the stairs, he lifted the heavy wooden latch and opened the wooden door with the creak. He guided Felicity through that door and just into a long corridor that went straight, then turned a corner. Beyond that, he could not see anything, so he gave Felicity his final words of parting.
Before I continue with what Ben said, was that the Star Wars girl's description, or Ocean's?
The Star Wars fangirl wrote that description. She can describe some things pretty well if into a scene enough. She was trying to make this scene somehow awesome and terrifying, and it would have been to any child just snatched from her home, but especially this poor little blind girl.
So here's what Ben says next. The three of us shall see you soon. From here you must enter alone. We can go no further. It is you the Emperor will judge, not us. This is all out wrong, the elf said. She shouldn't be judged. I'm going in with her.
No, dear, she has to do this alone, Ben said.
The elf was incensed. A frightened little girl! This would be terrifying for one who could see, and she's blind on top of this. No, I don't give a damn about protocol. I'm going in with her, and that's that. Elf, Ben began to scold. She's just a scared little girl for crying out loud, the elf reminded him. Beneath all that steeliness was something Ben hadn't seen until now. Concern and perhaps empathy. The elf continued. And if this is the same little girl you rescued the other night, this judgment insanity is the last thing she needs, and you know it. All right, Elf. I will let the Emperor know you are accompanying Felicity, and why. I really don't think he will mind. This was not even his idea in the first place, but... He trailed off at a sound of discontent from the elf.
I thought as much, she mouthed angrily.
She'll be fine, dear, Ben assured the elf. He knocked on the door. Please come in, Sheev invited through an intercom speaker that sounded just above them. Your Excellency, Ben said, since Felicity is blind, she requires some assistance. So would you have any objection to Ocean Elf accompanying her?
I have no objection, Sheev suddenly shuddered. On the other hand, it might be better if she came in alone.
No, it would not, the elf said sternly. I will come in with her, she insisted. Ben raised his eyebrows in reaction to what looked like all-out defiance toward the new Emperor from the elf.
Please excuse me for interrupting, but there is a reason the Emperor Sheev shudders, and he does this again in a while. Something makes him very uncomfortable. Although it is not Ocean, it is her idea.
I won't stop you, Miss Elf, Emperor Sheev said. Good luck, my child, Ben said to Felicity, and gave a nod to Elf. Very slowly, Felicity entered the first corridor. The door closed behind her with a loud thud. I'm right here, the elf got alongside Felicity. If you'd rather take an arm than use your cane, that's how I lead my friend Sarah when we go any place. Thanks, Miss... Felicity hesitated. It's Elf, and you're welcome, said Ocean. Alf, Felicity said. You almost got it, Felicity, Ocean said patiently. It's Elf with an E. Oh, like from The Hobbit or Santa's Workshop?
Exactly, said Ocean.
Is that short for something like Elphaba? No, it's what I am. Oh, wow, I didn't know there were elves on Tatooine, Felicity smiled. Well, there is now. Here, let me help you. Elf offered an arm to Felicity. I'll just use my cane. Okay, then, I'll just help you out by directing you. Ben and Yoda watched them go on their way and turned to smile at each other. Then they went back down the stairs and retraced their steps until they returned to the training area. "Does that elf know no fear?" Ben asked Yoda. "Why didn't either of us insist on helping Felicity? We just went along with it."
"Worried we are about the possible wrath of our new Emperor and Anakin, especially now that healed he is, with his strength recovered," said Yoda.
"I am glad Elf insisted on helping Felicity. I just hope neither of them get into trouble with either Sheev or Anakin," said Ben. "The other way around it is likely to be," Yoda quipped. "Yes, and that could turn into a vicious circle," said Ben. "It seems our elven friend has some issues with authority."
Ben is not quite right. Ocean Elf has issues with people in authority who shouldn't be.
Yes, and she knows who really runs the show here. It is not the new Emperor Sheev Alderaan. It is Anakin Vader Darth Skywalker. So, in my opinion, she is right to have a big problem with that.
The way that fangirl genuflects to Vader and Palpatine, and writes all others doing likewise, is nauseating.
I agree. Anakin Vader has a lot of blood on his hands, and there is a reason Sidious chose him, and it was not just because he had the Force like crazy. He also had the right sort of personality. Rabbadash, do carry on.
Felicity walked slowly down the first long corridor without incident. Elf followed close behind her, but when they reached the corner, Elf said,
"Here, we hang a left."
She looked into the next corridor and scowled.
"Oh, this won't do." "Felicity, I'm going to have to lead you by the arm. This hall would be impossible for you to navigate without tripping."
"It's jam-packed with stuff all over the floor." The elf glared at each useless object that was obviously put there as some kind of test, and some fun at the expense of a blind girl. "What kind of stuff?" Felicity wanted to know. "Everything from benches to books and paper strewn about," Ocean replied, rolling her eyes in disgust. "Wow! And Ben and Yoda were going to send a blind and terrified girl into this?"
This time, Ben and Yoda were innocent to some degree. They did not know there would be an obstacle course. It was their folly that made them believe Anakin was so saintly, and they never even doubted their own emotionally abusive actions that Anakin had them doing to Ocean Elf. They thought Anakin could do no wrong, so never would have suspected this kind of mischief. This is Ocean's first crater.
If they were smart and not so willing to follow and put all their trust in Anakin, they would have checked the route out and removed those things to give Felicity a clear path.
Exactly, Lisa.
So this is something Ocean inserted into the plot. It should be interesting to find out who is behind junking up the corridor.
Since so much has been made about the Emperor being kind, what if he was the one behind it?
Oh, I know the mystery, but I don't want to spoil it.
That's right, Alpha. You and the others from the Vortex were exposed to Star Wars and witnessed the massive cringing it caused Ocean and Cindy.
So was I. Cringe is right. It's refreshing to go through some of this and really express how we feel about it. I also know the mystery of the junk in the hall. I cheered Ocean on over that one.
So, Jessica, was it the Emperor?
I'm also curious. Was it vandalism? Was it by design? I guess the only way to find out is to continue reading.
This is going to be good. Here goes. Felicity looked surprised. What happened?
Elf sighed. She had her own theory, but there wasn't time to discuss it.
Not sure. But let's get you through it without tripping and falling. Here, I'll hold your cane, and you walk right behind me, holding onto my shoulders or both arms. Choo-choo style. Hold tight as you need to. Felicity chuckled nervously, but let Elf take the cane, then did as she asked.
Eventually they reached the throne room, and Elf detached herself from Felicity and handed her cane back. Suddenly, without warning, a kindly tenor voice split the silence, seeming to come from somewhere in front of them.
"Welcome, Ocean Elf."
"Thank you," the elf responded, looking confused at the Emperor. Why had he not welcomed Felicity first? Why did he only mention Elf? The answer to this came almost immediately.
"But where is the new arrival I'm meant to see?" the Emperor asked.
Ocean stared at him in confusion, then grew stern. "Before I answer that, whose idea was it to litter the last hallway full of all kinds of odds and ends so we could hardly walk down it?"
"What do you mean?"
The Emperor looked utterly baffled. The elf pointed a finger to the entrance. Emperor Sheev got up and walked toward the entrance. Sure enough, it was all there. Papers, marbles, stools, pencils, a bench sitting crosswise, books, a small table, and along the side of the wall on what would have been Felicity's right hand going into the throne room, and the most telling item of all. Anakin Vader's discarded mask from his old suit. The Emperor looked dismayed.
Aha. No wonder Anakin demanded that Felicity go it alone. He wanted to trip her up for his own entertainment, and he didn't think anyone would defy his orders, so he arrogantly put his stupid mask in with the bunch of other stuff, thinking he wouldn't get found out.
Lisa, you hit the nail right on the head. And considering how he treats Lissy during the judgment, this fits perfectly.
That judgment thing was written by a Star Wars nut who probably wanted Anakin Vader to do it to her. I got creeped out reading that bit, and that was before Ocean's inserts, exposing just how messed up it was. The little girl seemed passive and maybe even a little excited, if you get my meaning. Until Ocean filled things in and gave her a more normal reaction. That Star Wars nut was into all his bodily functions, too. His stupid breathing sounds, his eating. There was 1 month during the summer of 2021 where Ocean did a month-long role-play experiment, where she allowed Anakin to return. It was horrendous. Vader's fangirl extraordinaire wanted to role-play every morsel Anakin Vader ate. She wanted one of my Furbies to act as his ever-so-loyal, ultra-protective watchdog. As in, she was supposed to love him so much that she would never leave his side whenever he needed rest or was feeling out of sorts. I gave that idea a definite no. She also tried role-playing scenes where Palpatine or some flavor of the weak bully barged in and did something all her flyby bullies did. Call Yoda a frog, make fun of his age and arthritis, make fun of Felicity's crippled hand, make fun of her for memorizing music instead of reading notes, make fun of the Anakin Luke father-son thing, and or laugh at Anakin Vader's stupid suit. Without Anakin, she would have Luke or Ben immediately put a lightsaber to the hapless bully's throat. It was Ocean who constantly had to tell them to stop overreacting and put their weapons away. But during the month that Anakin was allowed back, it was he who supposedly throttled the bullies. And too many times he did it just by being repulsive, like answering something Palpatine said with a loud belch or fart. Yeah, she was way into that guy.
Because she thought he was super cool. Gross.
Which is why I applaud everything Ocean did to trounce him in the written story, and her hostility toward him during the role plays.
So do I. Who wants to deal with Anakin Vader farting or belching and with someone who loves him so much that she thinks it's somehow great?
You said it, Lisa. Any guy who behaves like that in front of me is going to get the instant cold shoulder. That goes double for a monster who kills a man out of jealousy and to teach his wife a lesson, and chokes his wife for the same reason, slaughters a bunch of kids. Mind chokes his subordinates. Mind burns his own daughter to near death. Freezes someone else in carbonate, whatever that stuff is, and gloats about making people scream in agony.
You have a good head on your shoulders, Elsa, but we've done it again, held the story up.
We left off at Emperor Sheev being shown the mess cluttering up the hall. I assure you, Miss Elf, that I did not put those things there.
Ocean shook her head. I didn't think so. That leaves only one person. The Emperor looked almost sick, but said, Well, now that you are here, where is the one I'm supposed to meet? Don't you see her? She's standing right here with me, said the elf. Emperor Sheev, meet Felicity. What? Sheev looked shocked. Please don't tell me I'm supposed to cast a judgment on this child. You mean you didn't know? Elf asked. Yes, the Emperor replied, flabbergasted, but I thought she was an adult. Anakin never told me anything about a young girl. And he never told you she was blind either, I'll bet, said Ocean in disgust. That doesn't surprise me in the least. Oh, gosh, I sure didn't see this coming. Wow!
So that's where Ocean showed Anakin Darth Vader up for the sadistic scuzzbrain he is, and where Lissy's blindness actually helped out there. He probably didn't tell Sheev all the details, so Sheev wouldn't have a chance to refuse, and he didn't even suspect he would be judging a child in the first place. So it was, yes, Anakin, anything you say. No questions asked.
Bang on, Iris.